Hey guys, it's Tuesday, June 15th at 7 o'clock. I decided that I wanted to do a video to talk about bravery and the idea of bravery for trans people and our transition and the process that we have to go through that sometimes other people and maybe even ourselves deem as bravery. I know that I personally have always struggled with the feedback that I've gotten from people about being brave, and because most of the time I have not felt brave during this process. I have felt terrified, and I guess bravery is moving forward despite the fear, but I don't know, there's something about putting on a brave face, or putting on this, I'm fine and I'm going to do this no matter what. And I know for me personally, there's been times where that has definitely been a front in it, and I've been terrified to take the next step, and sometimes I didn't even know what the next step was, and so I was kind of just floating along, hoping that I would figure it out and that it would all work out. But the main point that I feel like I want to talk about is, in all of that, my bravery has changed a lot. I feel like I was much braver when I first started my transition, and I am much less brave now. And wanting to reflect on that and take a look at why that might be, and see if others can relate or have a similar experience. I know that when I first was willing to step into my trans identity, that there was a fierceness about me. There was a certainty of identity and an assertion that was very much about telling other people as much as telling myself that this is who I am, and this is my story, and this is my experience. And and I think that was a process for me to, through informing other people, learn much more about myself. Because there were times where I was telling people how certain I was of something, and I was certain, but then in hindsight, looking back now, I realized that maybe I was not as certain as I thought I was, and that I wished I was more certain, and that's the place I was speaking of. But now that, for the most part, unless I tell people, my trans identity is overwhelmingly invisible, and which is a stark contrast, obviously, to when you first start transition, because everybody knows, if not because they knew you before, because you're in that awkward place of your body doesn't match, your voice doesn't match, your name doesn't match, like whatever it is. But your trans identity is just, it's the first thing people, one of the first things people see or know or hear about you, or you're that person that is other people talk about, like, oh yeah, Aydin, he's trans, did you know? And there's pros and cons to that, obviously. I think in it we get really frustrated and tired of it, but in hindsight I can look back and really appreciate that process much more than I could when I was in it. But so now my trans identity is remarkably invisible unless I tell you, unless I choose to share my experience or my story with you. And in that, there's a certain amount of complacency and a certain amount of safety in the silence, maybe, that I find myself not as brave as I used to be, and I'm not certain how I feel about that. There's parts of me that feels disappointed in myself about that, and there's other parts of me that can acknowledge and recognize that there's a certain amount of survival in that it is required for, I think, us, but certainly for me, to become complacent in falling into the mainstream. And for a lot of people, the mainstream is exactly where they want to be, I've never really aspired to be part of the mainstream, so it's a little bit different for me. My experience is a little bit different. So I guess there's a little judgment that I have about myself about being less brave, and that because I'm in a position where I'm getting married in 2 weeks, legally married, and I'm going to have all the benefits of legal marriage, and I have a job, and I, have a life, and I, don't, for the most part, have issues in the world because my trans identity is invisible. I'm very, very lucky in that regard, I guess, that my transition has given me the opportunity to have those privileges, which feels terrible to say that I'm lucky to have those privileges. The only thing that I can say is that I'm acknowledging and I'm aware of those privileges, and I don't abuse those privileges, but the privileges nonetheless. And so in that, I don't want to give that up. I don't want to rock that boat, and yet I do. I do want to rock that boat, and I want to be that voice, and I want to be visible, and I want to be counted, and I want to be recognized as all the things that I am, including being trans, and that experience is profound, and it's a core part of my experience thus far in my life. And I'm not saying that it will be for the rest of my life, but it certainly is right now, and I want to honor that. And I feel like 2 years ago, when I first started my transition, I honored that way more than I honor that now. And because oftentimes trans people have no other people to compare themselves to, in the sense that I don't have access to someone else who knows me, who is also transitioned and who is ahead of me. Like I can't call my father, or I can't call, well, I wouldn't call my older brother anyways, but I can't call anybody and say, hey, person who's already walked this path, give me insight, give me direction, lead me, and allow me to follow so that I can continue to lead for others and allow them to follow. There's this chain that is broken for people within the gender variant experience, and I think that this is one component of that broken chain. And that chain gets broken for a lot of people in a lot of different ways outside of the trans experience, obviously, but this is my connection to it right now. And obviously I think that being in the situation that I'm in at work, that I mentioned in my previous video, I think this is impacting this space and that I'm feeling tremendously. And wanting to be out and wanting it to just be part of who I am, part of what I experienced and what I can bring to the work environment, and also being keenly aware of the potential consequences of that, and understanding that this place that I sit at this table is different than the place that I sat at the very same table 2 years ago when I didn't have the option. That I was fighting every day for just recognition and identity, and I'm not now, and I don't know if I'm supposed to be comfortable in that or not. So yeah, I wanted to put that out there, see if anyone else can connect to that, relate to it, if it sparks some sort of conversation within themselves that they're willing to share with me. That would be great. As always, I hope everyone is well, and really appreciate people watching my videos and the ongoing subscribers that I continue to get and the email messages. I absolutely love hearing from people, so please, 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 if you have a comment or a question, or you need to connect, I'm always super available for that, so just shoot me an email. All right, later.